Well, hey everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Man, I have a fantastic show for us today, as usual. And I have two amazing guests here. I have John Vandeventer and Brown Dwarf here today. We're going to be talking about some very recent things that have been in the news, including some cattle mutilations out of Texas. Which have baffled a lot of people. But for those of us who know, there have been cattle mutilations and animal mutilations for quite some time, at least since the 1970s. I'm going to argue that's even before that. Okay, but we're going to go back to the 1950s today as well, with a very interesting case out of Russia that may involve human mutilations. Okay, so we're going to get started on this in just a second. I would love for you guys to please go hang out over at my website, thecryptidhuntress.com, and I have all of my updated shows there, all the events that I'm going to be at, speaking at, traveling to, which include the Spaced Out Radio fan party. Now, this is on the ticker right now. May the 19th through the 21st in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Golden Nugget. You guys please come hang out with us. We're going to have an all-star lineup, a very special guest speaking there and hanging out. We're going to be broadcasting live that weekend. Okay, and then I fly out to Grafton, Illinois at the Journey to Truth conference, where I'm going to be presenting on cryptids and remote viewing. That's going to be fantastic. And then I have the honor and privilege of speaking at the Paranormal Roundtable's second annual Dogman Cryptid Conference. That's in Fort Worth, Texas, September 2nd and 3rd. I think the first, that Friday night, there's a VIP meet and greet and stuff. So y'all get your tickets to that. They're going to probably sell out, I would assume. There's going to be a big crowd there. Okay, so y'all come see me there. If you'd like to support what I do, you guys are welcome to join my Patreon and become a member of my Patreon family. And also, I have a shop on Etsy. That's War Woman Goods. So, yeah, enough about me, y'all. But if you'd like to support what I'm doing, go buy some turquoise jewelry. And I appreciate all your love and support for everybody who's already done that. Y'all are the best. Okay. All right. Well, how about this? Let's get to our show today, because we have so much to pack in to about an hour today. And we have so much to talk about. All right, so let's see. And hey to everybody in the chat. I'm so glad y'all are here. All right, let me introduce my guest for today. Okay, well, let's go with Brown Dwarf first. Okay, y'all know Brown. He's been on my show. Brown was born in Hollywood, California, and resides in Humboldt County as well as Southern Oregon. He's always been fascinated with the mysteries of life. As a youth, he began having UFO sightings, which continue to this day. Living in Bigfoot country has expanded his reality to the phenomenon of the Sasquatch people. Having had several sightings and many experiences with these beings, he began documenting his journey. Okay, and I'm going to put up his YouTube channel here on the screen, definitely towards the end of the show. Okay, so you guys can go find him. John Vandeventer, who's also been on my show before. Y'all know John. He's from Plano, Texas. He's had a lifelong fascination for military aircraft, which he developed as a young boy. This fascination led him to serving in the U.S. Air Force for 16 years. His fascination for military aircraft also led to another lifelong fascination with UFOs. He's the father of 5 children and the author of the Relics book trilogy and his U-series Shadow Chasers. John and his wife Monica live in Hunobia, Oklahoma, in the heart of Oklahoma's Sasquatch country. Okay, so, and I'm going to pull up, we have Brown Dwarf here today. Hey, Brown. And I have John here as well. My all-star panel. Hey, guys.
Greetings, everyone. Glad to be on. Thank you, Jessica, for the invite.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being here, John.
You bet. Glad to be here.
Yes, well, I think that you two are the perfect pair to have on my show with me today to talk about these recent cattle mutilations out of Texas. What do you guys know about them? Brown, what have you heard about these?
Yeah, I recently heard about it, and it's pretty alarming to me. I know I've always been fascinated and interested in that phenomenon there. And I could remember it as a kid happening and hearing about it. And then living where I am now these days, also, there's a lot of cattle farmers around. And yeah, I just always wondered if it happened in our areas and stuff. And I recently found out that I guess it has been. And up in the Southern Oregon area, it's been happening as well. I guess last year there was some of that activity happening in the southeastern Oregon area, and then I believe the year before that, and that was the cattle mutilation. So very interesting, and especially when it's happening closer to home. I also have an uncle who's a cattle rancher in Mexico, and I've yet to ask him about any happenings like that, but I could only imagine. Mexico's a weird place, and a lot of weird things have happened in the area he's in. So I
Wow.
can't wait to find out.
Yeah, I grew up on a cow farm. Actually, my family had black Angus cows. And so,
Wow.
but we don't have a whole lot of reports that I know of cattle mutilations down here in the South. I live in Georgia, and I live about a mile down the road from my family's farm. We don't have cows anymore, but we never had this problem. And if we
Wow.
did, nobody told me. Okay.
Interesting.
As a kid. But the cattle mutilations go hand in hand with UFOs. And first of all, Brown will be back in a second. Brown has recently gone to an air show this past weekend and filmed some interesting unidentified flying objects around those fighter jets. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later today. But John, you have actually been in the air. You were in the Air Force for 16 years, and you have some experience with not only the fighter jets, okay, and stuff, but UFOs. So, are you familiar with the cattle mutilations that have been going on, and
Well,
what is your take on it?
well, I'm not really that experienced with them. I know, I did a quick history on them. They've always been interesting, but they've kind of been on the back shelf with me. Um, but it's like I think it was 1974 when they became a big thing in the media. But I was doing a little research and I found out that the earliest documented cases were in 1606 in London and adjoining shires, and it's
Oh,
actually recorded in the official records of the court of King James. So they've been around for a while.
really?
The three counties where the recent ones have are all lined up right together. So what I saw, there was six episodes along three counties along the same highway too. uh, that could be telling. I did look in those three counties. The counties were Madison, Brazos, and Robertson, and I couldn't find any UFO reports over the last 3 months or in the last year over any of them. Um,
Hmm.
other things. Some of it could be explainable. I've heard from dehydration if they do have a wound or something from a scavenger, that as the body dries out, it tends to stretch, so it'll give it a
Oh,
straight line, like may look like laser or scalpel incision, but that's kind of far fetched. So uh, I would just chalk it up to cults, humans, or possibly UFO activity. I mean, that seems to be the
yeah.
most likely cause.
It's what it seems like for sure. Derek, thank you for that super sticker. You're so sweet. I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to read a little bit out of this article from Fox News, okay? And this is a local Fox News channel out of Texas. In Madison, Texas, authorities across at least 3 counties in southeast Texas are investigating the mysterious deaths of 6 cattle located with their tongues removed. The murdered cattle, they said murdered and their tongues were removed. So it wasn't just like an accident, right? They were found dead in Madison, Robertson, and Brazos County, like you said. According to the sheriff's office, law enforcement is investigating the death and mutilation of a longhorn cross cow along TX OSR. Ranchers told deputies the longhorn cross cow was located on her side, deceased, and mutilated on their ranch. A straight, clean cut with apparent precision had been made to remove the hide around the cow's mouth on one side, leaving the meat under the removed hide untouched. The tongue was also completely removed from the body with no blood spill. The tongue was also completely removed. Oh, I already read that. Sorry. The tongue was, there was no sign of struggle. The grass around the cow was undisturbed. No footprints or tire tracks were noted in that area. Ranchers also reported that no predators or birds would scavenge the remains of the cow, leaving it to decay untouched for several weeks. In addition, 4 more cows and a yearling were found dead under similar circumstances in nearby Robertson and Brazos County. Each incident occurred in different location, pastures, and herds. It's very alarming to the community. A ranch owner said they think that it's some kind of cult activity. There's no presence of blood spill, and the cows were mutilated. the woman interviewed said, I don't know how that could happen. It just doesn't make any sense. There's no tracks, no bloodshed on the ground. They didn't even take any meat from the animals. Somebody was quoted as saying, as high as beef products are in the store, if they kill an animal, they'd take the meat. Okay. And I can understand that. But yeah, it's gaining national attention. The cause of all of these cows, it remains unknown. It's really a mystery, but I mean, we've been having not only animal mutilations for quite some time, there have been human mutilations as well. And so, it does have, to me, it has something to do with UFO activity, in my opinion. But it could be cultish. I mean, that's what a lot of people that don't want to believe in UFOs and Bigfoot and all that kind of stuff, it's got to be like some kind of cult kind of thing going on, So, but yeah, with no tracks. Okay, there's no tracks, no human footprints. There's no animal prints. There's no blood. What else could have done that? What do you guys think?
You talk about cults and people. Being a native Texan and then living where I do now in Oklahoma, a cult or people, they would be taking quite a chance going out and mutilating somebody's cattle because everybody's armed on those ranches for the most part. And up here in Oklahoma, everybody's armed. So, the people here are really nice and stuff, but I will not go on somebody's property without alerting them first or getting permission. So if it is a cult or something, they're taking their chances down there in Central Texas, going out on these ranches at night or even during the daytime. I'm just assuming it was done at night.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the same around our areas. You better watch out if you're crossing someone's property. And we're I guess in Oregon we're a little closer to town, but the drainage of blood is a major thing that I find fascinating because I don't know if this particular case they mentioned no spillage of blood, but I've heard in certain cases that the cows were like completely they took the blood out completely with no spillage on the ground and no sign of blood anywhere. So I wonder if these cows had blood in them or not. But the removal of these body parts as well. It seems like the sexual organs a lot of the times are taken also. Yes. And very bizarre. I don't know. I don't know where to go with this, but aliens have always came to mind, UFOs. And we're hearing more about like cryptids also doing animal mutilations and stuff like that. And then you're also hearing about possible cryptids or beings coming out of these UFOs and stuff. So it makes you kind of wonder. And I've also seen, I think Barry Littleton recently posted a video, and it's a classic video of these orbs that are forming a crop circle. And they're just kind of like hovering over a field, and they just like, it seems to like magically appear. And that's how I would imagine this phenomenon would happen. Like, my mind thinks like whatever is happening, it seems invisible almost for some reason. And quick and precise, and
it does. Well, those orbs that make the crop circles, I actually did a show with Barry on those where I remote viewed the orbs that make them. They're like plasma balls, right? And there's something to it, and to make those intricate designs, it's laser focus kind of stuff, So it would make sense that it could be an orb,
right?
So,
or
that's
crap. I mean, if it's not leaving tracks or anything, it's
coming from the sky then.
What the mind comes to, but trippy stuff.
That's a good theory, Brown. That may be the ranch version of the crop circle, since they're not going to have grain and stuff growing out there. Who knows? But that's a good theory.
Yeah, and whatever it is, it seems pretty. It seems very scary to me. The way they leave these animals and stuff, and knowing that it's for the farmer, it's a hit. It's a financial hit, and it is a crime, and so it seems like not a positive thing, but you wouldn't want that happening to you. So yeah, whatever it is doesn't seem too cool.
Well, in the end, the animals are not going, and like buzzards don't come and eat these cows that have been mutilated. Other animals don't come out and eat them at all. They're just left there untouched, which that says a lot, because they say that when a Bigfoot has a kill or a Dogman has a kill, nothing will touch it. Perhaps there's radiation involved or something.
That's a good point too. I wonder when they investigate these things if they do check for radiation. It could
sure
be something to do with a 5G tower or something like that, or
Yeah.
Military activity, aircraft activity, a certain frequency or something getting put out. Who knows?
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're hearing more about, as we move forward into the future, our technology is obviously we think it's advancing. And weaponry is becoming more teched out, and who knows, maybe it is our tech and maybe not some ET stuff or some far out stuff. I wonder, because we tend to think that some of it seemed to ramp up during the 70s or whatever you mentioned, but then
there you are.
Yeah, you took us back to antiquity, which is interesting. Very well. So,
yeah,
around the merry-go-round we go.
Exactly. It's just, it keeps happening. Jeff Townsend, what's up, neighbor? Thank you so much for that super sticker. You're the sweetest. I appreciate that. Okay, yeah, back in 1976, actually, there's an article that I was reading that there was a person named Gabe Valdez, a police officer, found evidence of a triangular shaped object landing near a cow, then some type of tripods. What are tripods? Exiting the craft, and they were about 28 inches to 4 inches in length. And so they're talking about how these UFO crafts, like these triangular crafts, were following cows around and stuff. Now we got to think, like, UFOs have cloaking capabilities and all that kind of stuff, just as do cryptids, some people say. And I think the only explanation could be something coming from the sky to take these cows. And which actually kind of reminds me, by the way, let me show a picture of, wait, hold on, let me take that down. Thank you again, Jeff. Okay, hold on. Oh my gosh, here we go. Let me take that down. And, okay, so here's an example of a cow that's been mutilated. I don't want to keep this on the screen very long because it's kind of gross. Okay, but a lot of times they take the skin around the teeth. They take out the eyeball. Some people say that is so they can get like this adrenalized blood, if y'all know what I mean. I hate using the word, but I guess cows have it too. I guess everything has it. But a lot of times they do take that skin around the mouth. They take their sex organs and their I don't know. I don't want to say it. They take their stuff from the behind. Okay, and so what is the purpose of that, though? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like,
well, I was wondering about just the tongues were missing on these, and then the stuff I was researching on this. Now, the government, their explanation is the missing eyes and soft organs could be blowflies and vultures taking them, and then the dehydration, causes the skin to stretch, and it looks like, surgical cuts. And
True.
their excuse for lack of blood a lot of times is blood pooling in a central location of the body while it's laying down. But now I could see maybe, I've never investigated a cattle mutilation, so I don't know if they're missing on both sides, if they're missing eyes or this or that. But I could kind of see the blood pooling thing, but that's a large carcass, and that's a lot of blood vessels and stuff. It just doesn't seem like good explanation to me.
Yeah, and hey, Mike, Long Island Bigfoot, he's going to be on Spaced Out Radio this Saturday night. So you guys check us out Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. He says cows are so heavy it's unreal, right? And a lot of these animals, the cows, it looks like they've been lifted up and thrown back down on the ground. Okay, a lot of times, which is interesting. And I want to make a quick connection here, okay, because this absolutely goes hand in hand with the case from 1959 in Russia, the Dyatlov Pass incident. Okay, there were, I think it was 9 Russian hikers, I believe, were found dead. Some people suspected it was the Russian Yeti that had attacked them or taken them and killed them. But I did. This was my first remote viewing show that I ever did. I looked into this case. 9 Soviet hikers died under mysterious circumstances while trekking through the Ural Mountains. It was known as the Dyatlov Pass incident, and when their bodies were found, they didn't show up to like their points of reference, like where they're supposed to call back to the base camp or whatever. A search crew went out and looked for them, and they found the majority of them, half of them, within a couple of days, and then like 2 months later, they found the last 4 of the group, and the last 4, they had been mutilated. Okay, the woman, her tongue had been removed. Okay, and it appeared as though they all 4 had been dropped from the air. Like their bodies had trauma to them, like they had been in a car crash. Okay, and some people said, well, it could have been an avalanche. They were buried under a lot of snow. The woman was missing her eyes, her tongue, and her lips. Okay, just like the cows and the animal mutilations that we see. The other people had severe skull trauma, severe chest fractures, but it looked like that they'd had no marks on their skin other than where the lady's lips and her tongue had been removed, and her eyes. Okay, and I know this is, I'm going to show a picture quite quick. This was actually them. I said I remote viewed this whole incident, and I remote viewed it in 4 different parts, according to where their bodies were found, and this is them after they found their bodies. And yeah, a lot of the damage that you see there, and their eyes could have been taken by scavengers and things like that. But when I remote viewed this, I did see that they had, there was not only military involvement, and it was a military type cover up, but there was also some ET involvement there was like, I was detecting ETs for the last 4 people that were found where their bodies had been mutilated. Okay, so it makes you wonder, like, was the military working with ETs at that time? Well, I believe if I'm not mistaken, that was around the era of Eisenhower, and they said that's when he was striking deals with the ETs to start abducting humans and things like that. I don't know. Maybe it's connected. Maybe it's not.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, very interesting. The Dyatlov Pass. There's a lot. Yeah, a lot of people have covered that, and it's trippy. But I don't know if you're familiar. There's another case, very similar to the Dyatlov Pass that happened, I believe, in the 90s, and it was the case is very similar, and it's not too far from where the Dyatlov Pass incident happened. And I forget. I should know this off the top of my head, but I forget the incident. Maybe someone in chat can throw it out there. But so yeah, that's pretty weird, that those 2 cases there.
Very strange. Yes.
Jessica, did you see anything? You had no cryptid type vibe when you did your reviewing? Have you seen the photograph supposedly taken by that group that shows like a Bigfoot looking image or whatever?
They called it the mink, and yes, what I believe is, okay, and this is after I did the show, and I'd been I had really done all my research on this after I'd remote viewed it. Someone brought to my attention that there was an entrance to inner Earth right there at the Ural Mountains. Okay, and so that would explain perhaps why something was so heavily guarded and there was such a police or a military presence there. Could be. Now, I'm just saying it's all very speculative. I'm just saying that I can't say for sure, but if there is an entrance to inner Earth there that could explain a lot as to why they were attacked, and there was a big cover up that went on for that, and the culprit or what they put the blame on was the mink. Now, I believe in that picture. I do believe there is a Sasquatch type creature out there. I don't think that was responsible for their deaths, because when I did what we call the deep mind probe, I did deep mind probes on just about every one of them. Everybody, I mean, I spent a lot of time on these targets, and they all told me the same thing, that they had seen something that came from the sky, and it scared them out of their tent that night. And they said it looked like umbrellas coming down from the sky with lights on them. Okay, and which sounds very militaristic, like they're, when things are getting shot out to brighten up the area.
Flares.
Flares, yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a flare.
And they do, a lot of them come down with a parachute, so that
Yeah.
would look like an umbrella with a, yeah.
That's what they told me. They said that it scared them, and they were chased out of there basically, because they had gotten off course and they weren't supposed to be there. Now, when I asked the woman who had her tongue removed and her lips taken off and her eyes removed, I asked her what happened. She said it was soulless beings, is what she told me, which could mean humans or ETs or whatever. But it definitely got a vibe of humans and ETs working together in conjunction here with whatever happened to them. Yeah. Very interesting, right? But I think there's some kind of connection to the cattle mutilations. I mean, why are they picking cows though? Of all the animals, is because they're easy targets? What do y'all think?
Well, what comes to mind is kind of how we choose mice for lab research.
That's a good point.
Yeah, for the research.
Have either of you seen the video of David Paulides missing 411 to hunters?
I have seen parts of that, because someone sent me a clip of it where they have a cube, like my team experienced in the field. So,
Well, there was
but I
one.
haven't seen it.
Brown, you seen it? You said, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't
well, you mentioned the hunted, but then
Yeah,
there's a new
the
one,
hunters, I think, or
Yeah,
the hunted,
the
maybe.
hunted, and then there's a new one, the UFO connection. So I don't know which one.
Oh, the UFO connection.
Well,
Yeah,
this
that's
one
right.
was hunters that had disappeared, and it came down that most of them had experience with UFOs in the area they were hunting in prior to disappearing.
Right.
And there was actually on there one person witnessed a UFO picking up an elk,
Right.
and carting it off. And I'm wondering if that's what they do with the cattle, if that's what's going on there. But yeah, that was kind of I don't know, that was like the creepiest of his 411 things I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Because usually it's just a disappearance and you really don't know what made them disappear. But the way they describe seeing these things, like they were following them while they were hunting and stuff, is kind of spooky.
Right. Yeah, and as far as the elk thing, I've noticed in one of my areas where I find a lot of these what we call stick structures, right? I found an elk carcass right near one of these big structures, and it really got my attention. Yeah, so I was like, wow. And then there is elk in the area, and I'm sure there is predators and stuff, but no sign of the predators really in this particular area. But there is a sign of these structures, so I found that pretty interesting. And there's been other instances where I thought there might have been like something going on as far as we thought maybe it was some sort of lair of a predator we had maybe on the property because of my dog. There was this maybe just 2-3 years where she kept bringing up these deer bones, and a lot of them were like a baby deer. Or just deer parts, and I thought to myself, maybe there's a predator around leaving a stash of food or something, but it was just happening so constant. I just knew that there was something somewhere, a pile, a layer, and it really had me thinking. And I actually documented her one time munching on some of these deer bones, and yeah, there's been a few other instances where I've noticed weird things with like animal parts and stuff that have appeared on my deck, like weird animal skulls and stuff like that. And I've thought of or the cats sometimes bring dead birds or voles around and stuff. But like some of this stuff was like pretty big. I don't know what type of animal it was, but a skull was left on our porch on our deck once, and it seemed placed. And it was just odd. And I've had things like that happen a lot where you find, sometimes it looks like bone glyphs that you find, or just odd little bone shells, or
Yes.
sometimes they could even be seashells or something just dead. But we may take it as a negative thing because it's something dead. But I've taken it a lot of times also not so negatively. It's maybe as
It's an
a
offering.
gift, or yeah, right.
Right.
So it's not always so morbid. And it comes back to, once again, perspective and how we look at things. But
Because
yeah.
they're beautiful. Listen, okay, so I got goosebumps as you were saying that, because when I was living in Atlanta, the last house I lived in Atlanta, I walked outside one morning and I had two dogs at the time and a cat. And there was the bottom piece of like a jawbone of some sort of animal. It was beautiful, but it was a little creepy. It was left on the railing of my back porch, and it was too heavy for a squirrel to put there. My dogs weren't going to get up that high to put something up there, and it just kind of seemed as though it was it was placed there.
Uh-huh.
And
We've
and
had we've
it
had
was
the same
odd.
thing here in
Oh,
Honubby.
really?
Yeah, when we moved in before I had my sighting and Monica had hers, well, we brought this huge swimming pool with us, above ground pool. I had it set up, and it was real far from any fences. And I noticed the last year I had it up, I'd come home from work. First thing I'd do is clean the pool in the evenings. There kept being these big, like grapefruit-sized rocks in the pool, like somebody was throwing them in or something was throwing them in. Now we have a
Right.
lot of pine trees on our property too, but none in the area where I mow. We got about an acre and a half that's fenced in that I keep mowed. There's no pine trees, but something was coming, and Monica, I don't know how they knew, she loves pine cones. Was like something was coming and gifting her 2 or 3 or 4 pine cones every night, leave them on a little rock ledge we have out by the carport. But one thing before I wanted to point out, it's pretty cool to be talking about David Politis missing 411, and I just disappeared from the show. Huh? That
Yeah,
was
you
good
did.
time.
The disappeared.
Trip
Both of
out.
y'all. Yeah, both of y'all keep disappearing. It's okay.
Yeah,
You're
and
still
that
here.
that phenomenon, the 411 phenomenon, coming around full circle again, is very similar to what, almost like what the mutilations are. Although, like you've mentioned, there's been some human mutilations, but like it seems like a lot of the cases, the 411 type cases, they don't seem to be mutilated. Sometimes it's weird. Some of the cases are kind of different,
Yeah.
but it seems like this same almost like similar phenomenon. And also Skinwalker comes to mind, the activity there.
Yes.
And it's a trip, because lately I've been thinking of Skinwalker, and it seems very negative, and I wonder if it's due to the person's perspective, once again, of how they're looking at things, and how are they projecting things. Because you have Ranch, up in Washington, where it seems like the Skinwalker, but the complete opposite vibe. It seems like a more positive place. People are having wonderful experiences, but yet similar bizarre phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. Although I know Barry went up to ESETI and had a weird experience there, kind of not good experience, and who knows what happened. But yeah, ESETI seems very interesting, and I would like to maybe check it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
He
know, I
said he.
wonder, like
Yeah.
the Skinwalker legends and stories, they are so close, but not quite the same as like the vampire stories and the other shapeshifters, the werewolves from France and the vampires from um where was that place? Where did Dracula grow up?
Transylvania.
There
He
you
was.
go, Transylvania. I couldn't think
Yeah.
of it. But these stories are similar, and I just happen to kind of notice that because of the book I'm writing right now, the last of the Shadow Chasers series. We kind of have a Skinwalker kind of thing going on, and yeah, I've noticed there's a lot of similar vibes throughout the world. Just not those 3 cases.
There
Mhm.
are. And Brown, you sent me some very interesting pictures, and I want to warn the audience today before I show these today. I would like to let you know that we're going to show it is a deceased animal, okay, and you can't really tell what it is. But I'm gonna show it. So if you're squeamish, you might want to look the other way, okay. And Brown, tell me what's going on with
Yeah.
these
So
pictures and who sent these to you.
speaking of, all these
Mm-hmm.
different little topics, and how I see it related. So we're having these animal mutilations, and in the cryptid world and in the Sasquatch world, um, there's talk about them possibly also mutilating animals, consuming them, um, and so we just mentioned also about them possibly leaving gifts or just signs, or you know different things like that. So my buddy Eric, he's in out of Texas, and he's been doing a great job putting together. He put together a project and is doing other projects, and he's doing a history on his area. He's in the Brushy Creek area of Texas, and what he noticed is that there's an area where he's been doing kind of his investigation. It's called Harryman. I believe it's Harryman Road, and then you have different things in the area that he's been putting together that is basically pointing to signs of Sasquatch and other things in the area. And in his investigations, he's been reaching out to different people. People have been helping out, and someone in the area had sent them some pictures of this coyote that seems to be flipped inside out and tied into a knot. And there was other activity in the area that they documented. And actually, Amazon just picked up his project. So you guys please go check it out. Support if you guys can. It's grass. He's been doing his like grassroots, and he's doing a great job, you guys. So it's The Legend of Harryman Road, I believe, on Amazon. So check that out. And yeah, Jessica, if you got those
Okay.
pics.
All right, everybody, I'm going to show these pictures. If you're squeamish, don't look. Okay, please. All right, here we go. All right, it's hard to tell what it is, but explain what we're looking at, Brown, please.
And so, yeah, that's a coyote that's been turned inside out and tied into a knot.
Mm-hmm.
And so they believe it could have possibly been done by a Sasquatch. And once again, if you check out their information, you'll see why they think that. And yeah, it looks pretty morbid, but who knows? We hear them braiding and doing these knots and
Mm-hmm.
on different types of grasses, on horses, and all sorts of weird things. And so
That's
maybe
right.
that's one of their things, and it's maybe just not so morbid to them. I'm not sure, but that is pretty far out stuff. And so yeah, Media Palace on YouTube, Instagram, check them out.
Yeah. It is wow, Dina. It's really wow. This is it's I've heard of this before, Brown. Okay, and so I believe it was Adam Davis, if I'm not mistaken, who was one of the co-founders of the North American Dogman Project.
Okay.
I think it was him or Nick Valente, perhaps, with the International Dogman Project. Uh, they've told me, I've had multiple people, especially in the Dogman community, talk about how the Dogmen and Sasquatch, I'm assuming it's both, will take animals, they skin them and they flip them inside out, and yeah, they flip their bodies inside out, and
Wow.
leave them like that. It's almost like, I don't know, it's just normal for them to do that apparently. So
Hmm.
I had never seen a picture before you sent that though.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
no, and thank you once again to Eric for sharing that with us. And
Thank you,
yeah, we gotta
Eric.
go over and support him. You guys, if you're into Sasquatch and these topics, he's doing an amazing job once again.
Well, I would like to get Eric on my show sometime. So Eric,
We'll
Eric,
get
if
him
you're out
on,
there
Jessica.
watching,
We'll get
yeah,
him
if
on.
okay, if Eric's out there watching, please come on my show. You are welcome anytime. We got a lot to talk about. Um, so yeah, what do you think about that, John? What do you think about this coyote flipped inside out?
That's pretty gnarly.
It is, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking it looks. I don't. It looks like something that got caught in a machine, like in a factory, like in a steel mill or something. I don't know what could do that.
Oh
That's
yeah,
pretty nasty. But
it is, and it looks like
and
it
I
just
don't
kind
mean
of
it. It
dried
doesn't
out.
look like something that's been hit by a car. It looks like something
No.
that was mutilated by something very strong.
Yeah, I mean, I
Mhm.
don't, I can't. I mean, you can never underestimate the power of a deranged human. Okay,
Yeah,
so just like we say, like with a lot of structures that we see, don't ever underestimate the power of a bored camper or Boy Scouts or something. With a lot of structures that we come across, or survivalists building, debris huts and stuff. but you can also have to think there are some really dark, mentally crazy people that would do that to an animal. Okay, and so, but it's highly unlikely. But I don't know, just the sheer power behind it, like you said. I mean, it takes a lot of power, and I don't know. I would assume a human would have to be kind of separate yourself from it if you're going to do something like that to an animal. That's just weird. But
Yeah, and you
anyways,
mentioned, excuse me, and you mentioned like, yeah,
yeah,
the the possibility, the capabilities of humans. We're capable of doing some amazing things, and even
yeah.
as far as you mentioned the debris huts and whatnot, even our tech, like we're thinking a lot of this technology, we're seeing these UFOs and stuff like that is ET and stuff, and maybe a lot of it isn't. So
Yeah. Hey, Barry's in the chat. Barry Littleton. He said correction. I've never had a
double
bad
salute,
experience. Yeah,
Big
he's never
Barry.
had a bad experience at his study. There's a whole playlist on his channel dedicated to there. He
Oh,
he
okay,
actually has some
cool. Well,
really
I
good
thought I
ones.
heard you
Yeah.
say that, brother. I'm sorry. I take that back.
Yeah. We love you, Barry. Thank you for being here today. Yes. No. He's had
Or it could have
yeah,
been
he's had some good
someone
ones.
at the ranch, not the ranch.
Right. I
I know
think
the
that's what it
ranch is all
was.
good vibes.
I think that's what it was. Yes, he had some good. Okay, here he just had. It was not related to that, but yeah. So wow, and who is somebody? Okay, so Matthew in the chat. I did put this comment a while ago. It said he heard a Bigfoot knotting up snakes. They do also what they call witch knots, where they braid the horse's hair, and that's got kind of a dark story behind it. It's y'all look it up online. I'm not going to talk about it here today. But yeah, there's something called witch knots. So they're fully capable of braiding, tying, ripping, tearing, whatever, with animals. So speaking of ripping and tearing, there's also another story, Brown, of an Oregon man who was out looking for mushrooms, morel mushrooms, I believe, and he got attacked recently. You want to
Yeah,
tell us about that?
that was brought to my attention by someone in one of my areas out there, and this person was actually experiencing some of the mutilations because they have cattle, and they put me on to this the story here, which is actually pretty close to my so it's not far at all, and which is really alarming because we love morel picking. We get out there as much as possible, and I believe the season is here. Um, and so yeah, so if you read this article, it was really interesting because the man described this wolf. He said it was a wolf and a big wolf. Over 200 pounds. And I did experience. I guess Oregon does have wolves because I have lake. Crater Lake area. I seen my first wolf about a couple years ago, and so I guess they're around, but I didn't know they were in that particular area, which is I believe Gold Hill. Anyway, so he's morel picking and mushroom picking is one of those things like berry picking people where weird things happen. And
Yes.
and yeah, so he also described the wolf as having golden eyes. And I
Bright golden eyes.
with
Yes.
with wolves and stuff. I know wolves and dogs could have some pretty trippy colored eyes, but he just described them as being golden. Now he didn't say anything as far as it walking bipedally or anything like that, but the source, salute Eric. We need
Hey,
to get you
Eric.
on,
He's in
brother.
here.
All right. Um, yeah, I don't know. It just really sounded weird. And I have seen some videos recently and TikTok, here we go. People get all iffy with TikTok, but what
Hey,
looked
you
like, I
got a
guess,
great TikTok page. Yeah.
what people, I guess, might describe as a dire wolf or something like that. It was just
Yes.
this massive, I don't know if you guys seen that video, if anyone's seen it, but it was weird and it looked real. And it was just this giant wolf walking in the woods. And I don't know this guy, how he got the footage or what, but it was pretty mind blowing.
Wow. Yeah. Well, this is okay. So this wolf attacked this mushroom hunter. Okay, and I'll go over a little bit of this article because I don't have the whole article pulled up for everybody. But on April the 9th, so that was just recently, Oregon's man, I can't talk. An Oregon man's hunt turned into a bloody disaster when he was attacked by what he called the biggest wolf he's ever seen. But DNA testing conducted on his shirt and his mushroom bucket confirmed that he was actually attacked by a male domestic dog, is what it said. It didn't have wolf DNA or whatever, I guess. According to the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife report. Okay, that was on April 20th. But he was with 3 family members on the outskirts of Gold Hill when he strayed uphill from the group. He encountered some mushrooms or something, and he looked up to see what he thought was a wolf moving slowly down the hill. It stopped about 15 feet away from him, who stood frozen in place. The animal looked downhill towards the guy's son, nephew, and brother-in-law, sniffed the air, and then turned and looked at him. It appeared to weigh about 200 pounds. That's huge, by the way.
It's a big dog.
Yeah, with a blend of black, brown, and tan fur and bright golden eyes. As soon as the big canine focused on Troutman, it charged and started attacking. Okay, it went for his face first before tearing into his arm. Okay, wow. That's unusual for just a regular dog. You know, I look into a lot of these unspecified animal attacks and attacks of packs of wild dogs, which we don't really believe. A lot of times it could have been a pack of wild dogs, and people suspect they're Dogman. Okay, or something like that. But the guy said he knew he'd better protect his arm the best he could, so he fell over on the arm that was bleeding and got into a fetal position. It went for his head and his face. It tore into part of his jaw close to his jugular, started going for his head. It was trying to kill him, he said. It never barked, never did anything a dog would do. A dog would usually give you a warning. There was nothing until the attack. I never forgot its face. Eventually, Troutman started hitting the animal with his mushroom bucket, which scared it off. He got to his feet and kept swinging until the animal ran off. He fumbled for his phone to call his nephew as his arm spurted blood. Sprinted up the hill, tackled his nephew, went and tackled him, applied a tourniquet to his arm, and it made the wound on his head bleed worse. About an hour later, emergency responders met him on the road to the hospital where they treated his wounds, and he went in for a 3-hour-plus surgery to repair his arm.
Wow.
It said he was attacked by a wolf, but, I mean, they're saying that it was not wolf blood, that it was a domesticated dog. But he said that he's skeptical about these results, is what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, scary stuff.
What kind of domesticated dog is 200 pounds other than like a Great Dane or a Presa Canario or something? I don't know. I mean, I have friends with Presa Canarios. They're not that big. They don't weigh 200 pounds.
And, you know, I've lived with like a Great Pyrenees, which are kind of wolf-like. And I know some people have like wolf, you know, or sometimes half wolf dogs and stuff like that. So, you know, who knows? But, you know, for some of us, Dogman may come to mind. And speaking of Dogman, actually just south of there, a few hours south of there on the California side is, on the other side of the border is Del Norte County, which actually is, some say technically where the Patterson film was, but it's between Del Norte and Humboldt where Patty was. But there's a state park called Jedediah State Park. And it's in Del Norte County. And a few years back, I want to say maybe like 5 years or so back, there was a report with some pictures. And that hit the internet. And so, yeah, you know, the pictures were very interesting. And for it to happen, I mean, for me, I was living not too far from there. And for me, for someone to try and like prank something at a Del Norte, it just seemed too weird, you know. I don't know, it's weird, but I know there's Sasquatch in the area for sure. And yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
Wow. So Sasquatch, potentially Dogman as well. Now, I don't know, just 200 pounds. I guess it was on all fours, but I mean, John, are you familiar with wolves? And I mean, dogs, do you go straight for your face usually? That's a little crazy.
I've been lucky and never been attacked by one. I did see a wolf. I didn't realize there was wolves in the Kiamichi Mountains here. I knew there was, you know, we got bear. They're the size of a overfed raccoon, and we've got coyotes. But I was coming from Tallahassee one day, and a wolf stepped out in the road in front of me. And you have to drive that road really slow because there's usually deer or some kind of wildlife that's going to step out. So I stopped, and this was no coyote. This was a wolf. This thing was huge, and you couldn't mistake it for a coyote. And the funniest thing, when you see a coyote, they're skirty. You know, they just like shoot off. They run. This thing just walked, took his time, crossing the road, looked me right in the eye, pretty much like, "What are you going to do about it?" You know. So that's been my only. You know, I was in my pickup, as a matter of fact, and I was glad I was in the pickup. That was a big animal. I was shocked how big that wolf was.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I thought the same when I seen mine, and mine was also roadside. It was on the roadside, and yeah, I drove by it and wanted to turn around, but it was just a 2-lane road, and it couldn't do it.
Wow.
Yeah, this
Okay.
thing was more impressive than the bear I see up here.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
Yeah,
Wow, that must have been huge. Well,
he
okay,
was.
so we have Grumpy in the chat. Hey, Bob. I'm actually on Bob's team, the North Georgia Cryptid Researchers, and we're on a couple of other teams together down here in the South. Bob was formerly the Region 5 director of the North American Dogman Project, and so he said, in his opinion, that DNA report as canine was a cover up. That's Bob, and I'm sure Bob's looked into this already. So,
Wow.
He's probably right. And I mean, I'm no scientist or biologist, but don't dogs have a little wolf DNA in them anyway?
yeah, right.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's confusing to me. I mean, maybe it's just slightly off, I guess. But
Yeah.
what kind of dog is it? Can they be specific as to what dog breed it is when they do a blood test?
Right.
I mean,
And I wonder if there's any breeds of dogs that are known to have golden eyes. I was wondering about that. And yeah, there was a
well,
few other questions that came to mind, but
Jeff Townsend has seen a dog man, and Jeff is my neighbor. I know Jeff very well. Hey, Jeff. He said that the dog man that he saw had very pronounced amber colored eyes, which is not too far from golden. Okay,
Wow.
so very pronounced. So I mean, I've heard that before too. That they have very like laser eyes. Like
Yeah,
there's something
yeah.
about them,
And
either
you hear that about
blue or
Sasquatch.
green or yeah.
Yeah, you hear that about Sasquatch too, about the glowing eyes sometimes. And yeah, I also wonder if yeah, like I said, just the color of the eyes and what else was it? There's a few things I was just questioning, and I do believe that a lot of media covers up things like this. Like and it could be a unrelated story, but they do cover things up, I believe, and this is how they do it. So it's a matter of us doing our little homework and doing shows like this and sharing information and trying to tap in to the right sources and figure these things out.
the wolf I saw, I would say, had gold or amber colored eyes too. The one I saw on the road that crossed him, because he was looking me right in the eye. I couldn't miss it.
Wow. Yeah, there's something to it. There's definitely a cover up, Brown. There's no doubt about that. I mean, in all these cases, and it is interesting. It seems as though the hospital staff, the doctors, the coroners, the media, the police departments, they're all working together to cover things up actively. A lot of them.
Well, you'll have game wardens tell you down in Northeast Texas there's no cougars,
Yeah.
and then you'll see your neighbor's
Trophy
feeder
'em.
camera, and there's 2 cougars eating a hog there. So yeah,
Yep.
I don't know why they want to tell you
Well,
they're
I know
not there.
why. I know why. Because we talk about it quite a bit, actually, with my team. We've talked about this before. It's because sometimes there's not supposed to be a panther in your area, and when they do have panther sightings, no, it's not a panther, because if it's a panther, they have to change the rules. They have to make reports, and they have to, call in. They have to make all these different changes. That
Well,
they
it's
just don't
almost
have
like,
the
yeah, the
funding to
argument
do.
for if they admitted
Yeah.
there was Sasquatch,
That's right.
it might become a protected species, and you got to change all these laws or enact all these laws. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, especially if it's like endangered or something, then you have to, cordon off the area and do all these studies on it and stuff. And they'd rather just turn a blind eye to all that, I guess. So I don't know how it works, but I know there's a cover up. So, and that's why you have to be extra careful when you're out in the woods, especially late at night. I mean, there's going to be a black panther out there potentially walking around that, if you get attacked by it, they're going to say you got attacked by something different.
Well,
Yeah.
like Bigfoot, it's Bigfoot area and this, and we have bear and things. But my biggest fear when I'm outside at night, if I got to go out to one of the outer buildings or something, is a big cat because you won't know they're there, and if they decided you're their new chew toy, you're just that.
Their
So
chew toy. Don't be something's dinner. That's what Mike from
yeah,
Abnormal Investigation says. Yeah, Barry has an interesting comment here. He says there's a newer technology called acoustic scalpel that does much of what we see in cattle mutilations. Now,
Wow.
that's very interesting. Now, is that must be obviously a human technology, but did they take that from ET technology?
Hmm.
A lot of times that happens. He says it's a bloodless incision.
Wow.
It could be something just like they take the UFOs and have reversed the technology or taken that technology to make our own UFOs. I mean, I've been sent pictures of a fleet of UFOs actually at Boeing, okay, inside a
Wow.
hangar.
Yep.
I think I've been given permission to show that. I don't have it today, but I have shared that with a couple of different people, and it does seem to be real.
Hmm.
So
And also, Jessica, I had sent you, and it's okay we didn't play it because it's pretty morbid, also. But I had sent you
yes.
a video of my something my brother had found one time. He was with his family,
Mm-hmm.
Vegas, from Vegas, I believe, and near the town of Calico, it's out in the desert. He had pulled over to relieve himself, and I guess he noticed what he saw. What we thought were like body parts or something like that, and he got up close with his camera and saw that they were cow parts, and so there were like these cow heads just scattered all about the desert floor there, and it kind of creeped him out a bit, and he took care of his business and got out of there. But he did get some footage, and it just makes you wonder what was that all about. Was it like a butcher who just got rid of or was it
Yeah.
an animal attack, or who knows? But they did have their eyes, but the skin seemed completely like melted off or something, or I don't know, or peeled, and it was just very strange. And that's been posted on my channel for years. And yeah, I finally get to elaborate a little bit on that
Yeah.
video.
Yeah, well, I saw the video. You sent it to me, and I just took a screenshot of it. I don't know. I figured, hope none of this gets flagged today because I've been showing some weird stuff, but it's okay. It's stuff that I think that it's important for people to see and to get out there, just to kind of know what we're kind of dealing with. But the video is, I did show a still shot of that, and there's a whole bunch of cow heads in a row, and you can hear your friend on there saying, "What the f is this? Like, what is this?"
Yeah, yep.
And he's obviously disturbed by it. You can definitely tell.
Yeah, he was out there quick.
It was weird. It could be very ritualistic though too. I mean, the area may have some sort of
Never know. Yeah,
ritual
very
stuff going
weird.
down. I don't know. And
And
that
and John, so you being part of the Air Force, it was pretty cool to check out this air show this uh invited me, and it was a free air show, which was really cool. Anything free is cool, right? And
yes,
so it was
totally.
in Riverside, California, and I just had a feeling something kind of told me like, hey, you know what, you might want to go to this because your buddies might show up. And I just had this feeling that, you know what, at the air show there's got to be some action, some like extra air show, and
Yeah, UFOs, huh?
oh yeah, and so I was ready for that. So I had the camera out as much as possible, and just had it rolling in as much as possible. And sure enough, when I get home and started going through some of those videos, started noticing these weird little objects darting around and flashing in and out. And so I've been sharing some of that stuff, and yeah, trippy stuff.
Yeah, they're all on your YouTube channel and your TikTok, right? So if you guys want to go check that out, I don't have the videos to show today, but
No
there is
problem.
I'm writing it
clearly,
down.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look, Brown. I want to see these.
there are clearly, like, it looks like orbs, like orb
Mm-hmm.
UFOs
Or
flying around the fighter jets.
tic
Okay.
tacky, Orby like. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very strange, but very cool. I'm glad they presented themselves, and I've been doing a lot of that lately. Hitting these UFO groups, and hopefully this Sunday we're gonna hit another one here locally, and I'll keep you guys informed on what's happening in my world.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think is the significance, John, of there being little UFOs floating around fighter jets?
Well, they could just be showing off. I mean, this isn't a new. This was happening back in World War II. They called them Foo Fighters. We assumed they were Axis aircraft, and the Axis were seeing them too. The Japanese and German pilots assumed they were Allied, some kind of Allied secret weapons. So they could be keeping an eye on us, or they could just be saying, "Look what we can do, and you can't." You just don't know.
Right.
You don't know where the technology is coming from. It's like you said, we may be rebuilding things we captured from crashes, or who knows? Maybe they're just keeping an eye on us, but I don't know how much of an eye they need to keep because they seem to be able to outperform what we have. So,
Yeah. I don't know. Those videos are fascinating, Brown. I think you did a great job of capturing that. And it's almost like you knew it was going to happen. So you were filming it, just waiting.
Yeah, and thank you. I'm doing my best. All I have is my phone, and in the future we'll get teched out and have the gear
Right.
to be able to really present and elaborate on what's going on, and we're working at that, and we'll get there.
Absolutely. And somebody in the comments earlier today said you should put a GoPro on your dog. And I thought that was a great idea. I saw the video of your dog eating the bones. It was like the spinal column of some animal.
Yeah.
That's wild. But my dog would do the same if I had her out there. So
Oh yeah.
they're just animals. That's what they do.
Good snack.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, you guys, this has been a great show today, and I think we've covered a lot of topics, and we touched on every single thing that we said we were going to today. So I think we did a really good job. So kudos
Enjoyed
to
it.
us. Right. Well, John, you have a wonderful book series. It's called Relics, and you have a youth novel series called Shadow Chasers. Where can people find your books? And tell us a little bit about your book series.
Well, Relics starts out as a Bigfoot novel, and it turns into a series that goes a little deeper, goes into UFOs and little Dogman action, and uh, dimension portals and things like that. I've just kind of connected them all together. Shadow Chasers, I'm about to release the third one on that. It's about 4 kids in Tallahena Junior High, and just their first book, they have kind of a Sasquatch adventure. The second one is a UFO type deal. And the one I'm working on now is called Nishkatini, and it's a Choctaw legend of an owl. Also, I forget, there's an southeastern tribe that believe in them too. They're kind of a shapeshifter, mainly to owls, and got a lot of interesting things like they have to vomit up their own intestines to take the shape of something else. Anyway, it'll be in the
Whoa,
book. Yeah, I
that
know
sounds
it's for
fun.
kids. I'll keep it kind of young adult, let's say. And then I got 2 other series coming out, and I've got a standalone novel I'm working on right now as well. So pretty busy. And you can find my stuff on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Easiest way is to go to the link right there that Jessica has, www.relicsbook.com. You can order anything there in any format. So thank you for putting that up, Jessica.
Of course. I love your books. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
thank
They're
you.
nail biters. I really do. You have a great series. And that's coming from a Bigfoot field researcher. And I really do appreciate it. And so Brown Dwarf, where can people find you and all? I know I had your YouTube up here a while ago.
Yes. So on
Tell
YouTube,
us about your projects.
Yeah, it's Brown_Dwarf on YouTube, and then over on TikTok, it's Brown_Dwarf 420. And yeah, thank you once again, and you guys be safe and take care out there.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. Thank y'all so much for being here. This
Thank
has
you,
been
folks.
so much fun. All right. Well, everybody, y'all be safe out there. Please join me tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. I have a remote viewing show. I'm going to see if I can't get Barry Littleton on here. He gave me a very interesting blind target that I just did yesterday, and it's going to blow your minds. Okay. It blew my mind when I found out what it was. Okay. And Yeah, I'll be posting that later today if Barry will do that one with me. We have another group that's working on that as well, on that target. So I'm gonna try to do that one. I will be announcing it later today, and this weekend I have Long Island Bigfoot coming on Spaced Out Radio. Mike is going to be joining me Saturday night, 10 p.m. on Spaced Out Radio, on the YouTube channel and on Facebook Live. And then on Sunday I have Travis Willier Moose Tooth coming on Spaced Out Radio with me. So we're gonna have a weekend full of Sasquatch and UFOs once again. So it's going to be awesome. Brown Dwarf, John Vandeventer. I hope you guys will come back and see me again. I want to thank all my moderators in the chat today. You guys are awesome. Thank you all for being here, and I will see y'all tomorrow night. Y'all have a good day. Bye.